Hi. Well, this must be, I think, day 31 of my COVID-19 holiday away from everyone. I call it a holiday because it sounds better than self-isolation. That was my sister's idea when I moved over here. And if in case you're watching this and you haven't seen any of my other videos, I'm in this flat on my own for the 3 months that I've been told to isolate away from everyone else. And that's because I'm in that shielding group that is extremely vulnerable. And if I got coronavirus, I would get very ill indeed. And that's because my immune system's so weak after my stem cell transplant that I had last year. But anyway, I've been making these little journals on video as a way of passing the time and hopefully passing on something useful in the process. And you can be the judge of that. Today, I was thinking about there's a feeling, I can understand this feeling as well because of what I've been through in the past. There's a feeling of having lost something, whether it's really having lost something like a job, but even if it's being furloughed or you've lost a holiday. There's lots of people who've had holidays cancelled, lost money, opportunities. You've lost close contact with family and loved ones. And there's a loss of peace of mind as well. There's a great anxiety that's crept in. And we're all having to reevaluate and wonder whether what we're going through is temporary or whether if it's long term. And, whether it is temporary or not. What it's made us think is that these things that we used to enjoy and gave us happiness and satisfaction, those things are actually not firmly within our grip. They can be taken away randomly by some microscopic virus at a moment's notice. And within a few weeks, our whole lives have changed, and those things that we got our security and satisfaction from have been, if not taken away from us, but weakened in our hands. And it makes us think, doesn't it? And it gives us an anxious time. And some people I know are really fearful. And it reminded me of a book that I once read called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. Now, it's a weird title, I know, and it gets even weirder when I tell you what the story is all about. It is a story. It's designed as what they call a management fable. It's like a parable, all to do with change and facing change. It's a very short book. It takes about an hour to read. So if you ever see it in a charity shop, pick it up for 20p or 50p or something, or in a jumble sale, and it's well worth an hour's read. It'll make you chuckle at some of the really cheesy comparisons and analogies in this parable, if you pardon the pun. But basically what it is it's set in a maze, and there's 2 humans and 2 mice in this maze. And every morning they get ready and they set out into the maze where they know there is a mound of cheese. And they love cheese. They love it to bits. That's what their whole life revolves around. Getting up, going to where there's cheese, bringing the cheese back, eating the cheese, and then going out the next day and doing the same again. The trouble is, one day they go to where the cheese normally is, and there's no cheese. It's gone. And the mice, of course, they see there's no cheese, and they run off into the maze to see if they can find some more. The humans, on the other hand, they sit there and their shoulders sag, and they think, there's no cheese. What am I going to do? And they go back home. And they go out the next day, and they go, oh, there's still no cheese. And they go home again. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, they do the same until they're getting really concerned that there's no cheese. Will there ever be any cheese? Is it just gone temporarily? Is it going to come back? Or are we never going to have cheese again? And cheese, of course, represents anything that we get pleasure or satisfaction from. It's what we want out of life. And that could be anything. And I won't list them, but you know what I mean. It's the pleasurable things in life, the things that we think we like and we rely on, and they make our lives happy and pleasant. So if those things get taken away from us or called into question or whatever, what do we do? Well, after a little while, one of the people in there decides that actually, since no cheese has appeared for a little while, he'd better go off into the maze and have a look. Now, he doesn't know what's in the rest of the maze because he's never been into the rest of the maze. And so he's a little bit fearful. There may be monsters in there. It may be dark. It may be awful. But he decides that since there's no cheese, he better go and look for some. And kind of taking the example from the mice, who seem to be like faring quite well. And it doesn't bother them. They just go and look. So he goes around the maze. And what he finds is, over time, that not only is it not as bad as he thought it would be, but actually there's little signposts on the walls every so often that give him encouragement. And he discovers that life further out in the maze isn't quite as bad as he thought. In fact, it's quite enjoyable. It's quite fun, actually, looking for the new cheese. And he comes up with these little sayings, which once you worked out the elements of the parable, all make sense. Things like, movement in a new direction helps you find new cheese. Or, it's safer to search in the maze than remain in a cheeseless situation. So basically, if you don't keep moving and keep looking, you're never going to find your cheese. You're never going to find a satisfactory situation. You're never going to find happiness or contentment or fulfillment or whatever if you don't go looking for it. If you just stay in your situation bemoaning the fact that you've lost something, then if you just stay like that, then you're 100% guaranteed not to find what you want. If you go looking for it, that's better than staying where you are. And there's other things in there, and I won't go into it because it will spoil it too much, because you ought to go and spend the hour reading the little book. And I suppose the basic thing is, just like I've found over, I've said this before, but my life over the last 20 years has been up and down and up and down. I've been made redundant 3 or 4 times. I've had cancer 4 times. And each time it's been like, as soon as I get up and running, that gets taken away. My means of income and provision for the family, and all those things that we may have been aiming for or hoping for at the time. One occasion we had to cancel a big holiday literally on the day that we were due to go, and because of a diagnosis. And so we've had to constantly deal with those things, and yet I've managed to find the new cheese along the way, and I've done that just through thinking of things that I can do positively, whether that's starting up a blog or starting up an online business, or writing on a personal blog, self-publishing the books that I have, or making these videos, and learning new things, getting online courses, and learning new skills. So that's what it's been like for me, and I can testify to the fact that there is new cheese out there. You don't need to fear this whole Covid-19 thing will blow over. I don't know how long it's going to take, whether it's 3 months or 6 months or a year, but however long it is, it will pass, and we'll come out the other side of it, and there will be new cheese. It may not be the cheese that you were used to. It may not be the job that you were used to. It may not be the setup that you were used to, but the way of life, the other side of Covid-19, will be just as enjoyable, just as satisfying, just as fulfilling, if not more, because you've had to think about it. You've had to go looking for it. You've had to evaluate what life means to you and what gives you that contentment, and what your purpose is all about, what your values are. It's given us all of that time to reevaluate and assess what our cheese really is. So I'll stop being cheesy at that point and say, have a little think about that, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.